Back to our Board of County Commission meeting. We will skip down to public hearing number 8 because it is a 1:30 preset, and it is 1:34. So public hearing to consider adoption of amendments to Article 6 of the Land Development Regulation Impact Fees. Mr. Clyde Doolin and Miss Lisa Wixer.
It doesn't look like Lisa Wixer.
Well, she was here, anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. With me is Negan Camp, our impact fee consultant. After I, briefly touch on the fact that this is a proposed amendment to Article 6 of the Land Development Regulations, and we're proposing changes to the text to update it consistent with state statutes and proposing changes to the impact fee schedule, I'll instead stop and defer to Negan so that she can perhaps give you an update, or not an update, but a summary of what impact fees are all about.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Negan Camp with Benish. This is just sort of a refresher, nothing that you haven't seen before, but basically in terms of the background, the county has been experiencing a growth, and the technical study for the impact fees, current adopted impact fees, was last updated in 2012. So the purpose of the study is to bring everything up to date and reflect current data. And it's focusing on those 7 service areas. So we are not updating schools, but just the county fees. Impact fees, by definition, are one-time capital charge to new development. They cover the cost of new capacity projects. They cannot be used directly for maintenance, resurfacing operations, but they do free up general tax dollars and indirectly help those programs. They help implement capital improvement plans and capital improvement elements. Their main purpose is to maintain the level of service. They calculate the cost of growth, and they are most needed when there are high growth levels and limited alternative funding. The study is using what we call a consumption-based methodology, which is very common in Florida. It charges new growth based on the value of the infrastructure that is consuming. And the way the fees are calculated, we make sure that we are not charging new development at a level to correct any existing deficiencies. They will basically generate just enough revenues to address their growth needs. And of course, the study establishes the maximum technically calculated rates, but the board always has the policy option to adopt them at a reduced percentage. In terms of legal requirements, impact fees were governed in Florida by case law for a long time, and then in 2006 we had the Impact Fee Act pass, and then it has several changes since then. Some of its key requirements are that the studies and the fees be based on most recent and localized data. For any increases, there's a minimum of 90-day requirement for implementation after adoption. And if there's any challenge, now the local governments have to show that their fees are correct instead of other sides showing they are incorrect. Then in 2021, we had a House bill passed that put some limits on how much the fees can be increased and how they need to be phased. So if any increases up to 25% needs to be phased over 2 years. Any increases between 25 and 50% needs to be phased over 4 installments. And the fees cannot be increased more than 50%, and they cannot be increased more than once every 4 years. There's an exception clause that requires a study that shows extraordinary circumstances, which would need to be discussed in 2 public workshops and be approved. The increase above 50% needs to be approved by 2/3 of the governing body. And then the basic impact fee formula looks at cost to add capacity. So for most of the fees, this is the value of the infrastructure, what the community invested in any given infrastructure up to this point. From that, we subtract any other revenues that are coming from future development and will be used for the same infrastructure so that we are not charging them twice, once through the fee, once through the tax. And then that net cost gets multiplied by demand, which is measured in terms of travel for transportation and population for all the other fees. So this slide is just showing you a total calculated fees for 2-3 example land uses. And for single-family home, again, just the county excluding schools, it would be about 10,200, and current fee is more about 8,000. And you all provided the direction of using the capping, so these will be all capped, and I think those schedules are in your package. So that just is a quick overview. That I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you for that. Can you go back that last slide, please? Does the school board have impact fees as well?
Yes, they do. It's a separate schedule in the LDR.
Okay, so I just want to point out to everybody that it really not the county total calculation. It is for the county commission, but there's like another 8 or 10,000 for the school board. So it's really 20,000 for a single family house, not 10.
And to add to that, Commissioner, Division 2 of this, of Article 6 of the Land Development Regulations deals with school impact fees, and none of the changes we're proposing here today deal with that division of the LDR.
I appreciate that. I just want the public to understand that when you look at that number, somebody may say, oh, 10,000, that's not so bad, until you write the check for a new home, and it's really 20,000. That's all. Just I remember when my parents built their house in Sewell's Point, and I always tried to understand exactly where they were going to get $20,000 worth of value out of their impact fees that they paid, because Sewell's Point, at least at that time, wasn't having a lot of infrastructure needs one way or the other. But they may not have paid county impact fees in Sewell's Point. Sewell's Point might have had its own impact fees. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Municipalities have their own?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm probably going to ask a stupid question, but what is square SF is square foot, GLA? What is GLA?
Oh, gross leasable area, just the retail category is measured by the Institute of Transportation Engineers in terms of the leasable area, that's all.
Okay. It would have bothered me forever if I would have not known that.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah. Okay, any other questions? Do we have any public comment?
I have a commissioner comment.
Knock yourself out.
Just to reiterate the fact that these numbers have not changed in 14 years, right? This is, 2012 was the last time this has been reviewed.
The last time that the whole fee schedule and the whole LDR was reviewed was back in 2013. There were some changes made in 2016 to add a conservation impact fee and to combine the library fees under one. But yes, as a whole, it was 2013.
Thank you.
To add to the presentation just a little bit, there are, as Negan just explained, some of the fees are going to go up by a maximum of 50%. Some will go up by less, like 25%. Some will go down. There will be some fees that actually go down, like the small unit size for a single-family residence of 800 square feet. Those fees actually go down. And what we have in the presentation materials is, that's not where I want to go. There are 4 schedules that show basically a 12.5% increase for the fees over the course of 4 years. The 50% increase, pardon?
476 is the last
Thank
page
you.
of the staff report.
Thank you. The fees will go up by approximately 12.5% as proposed in this work product, for a maximum of 50% over a 4-year period. So you will not see a 50% increase on any fees next year. And the fee schedules would bring it up, would start January 1, 2025, and then the next fee increase would be January 1, 2026, and so on for a 4-year period. Can I get to the tables quickly? 3 is 511. So there's the 2028 That's what the schedule would look like on the fourth year. And so we've got four sections of figure 611 here, so that it can be easily seen by all parties what the fee would be each year of the 4 years. And then at the end of 4 years, or near the end of the 4 years, the board could initiate another study and do another revision to the fee schedule if the board so desires. I can go into a lot more detail and discussion on this if you'd like, but staff recommends approval of the proposed changes to the land development regulation and the fee schedules attached.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I really feel sorry for incoming commissioners who have to learn about impact fees. These are so complicated, and our hands are so tied. Impact fees have always been very obscure for me, but never more than they are right now. Are we going to look at the changes proposed in Article 6?
We certainly can.
I'll just go through the ones that the questions that I have. I'm on page 485, 6.9D.
The stricken text?
No, the new text.
Okay.
So there, well, explain 6.9D to me.
Well, the state statutory changes require the impact fees to be expended for capital improvements that would benefit that district or where those fees were collected.
But there's an exception. Tell me about the exception.
As you correctly note, the county engineer can make qualified improvements based upon documentation that the fees will be spent on those improvements.
Is that Florida statutes or is that us?
Florida statute.
It says that the county engineer can make the changes?
Turn your microphone on. Please.
No, the statute is that you must spend the fees in the rational nexus. I think in this particular case, the county's determination would be using the county engineer could submit a finding if it was going to be spent outside the immediate area. So the concept is that, for instance, if you had a development in Jensen Beach, that you would not be spending funds on Island Way in South County. It's not now, if there was a regional facility that you were building on, and for some reason, and just please, this is an example, don't, that if we were contributing to I-95 or something and it was benefiting the whole county, you could make a determination, but it's very difficult. So the idea is under law is that the trips that the development is making, the improvements that you're using those funds on have to be related to the people that are either traveling there or they originated there. For if it's residential, of course, they're leaving and they're creating impact. If it was some major employment hub and it's drawing people from different areas, you might have a rational nexus or a determination study that could say that, hey, I'm pulling a third of my trips are from people that live out of the county, and therefore I can spend money on the Western Corridor, even though the project is in Cove Road. So those are, but in general, the way it's written by law is we have to program the fees that are collected for a project simply on Cove Road that benefits that on transportation systems that are close by to it, or that we can demonstrate have trips are affected by that.
This just seems to negate the purpose of the impact fees being spent in the district in which they are raised. Also, they in 6.9E, impact fees can be used for repairs. That's not creating new capacity.
No impact fees.
I believe it says no impact fees shall be used for repairs.
Oh, okay, good. Now I'm on page 487. And I'm on 6.11B credits under number 5. Crossed out is the requirement that the subject facilities are listed in the capital improvement plan.
Yes. That,
Why don't we
Yeah,
want our
that's one of
projects to be
the-
listed?
one of the recent legal changes. Now the statute says you have to give new development dollar by dollar credit regardless of whether it's in your capital improvement plan, whether you want the improvement. It just really forces, if it's in a state facility, even if you're not collecting for state roads, basically anything they do, they get full credit, dollar for dollar, indexed to the value. It really kind of strengthened that language for the developer credits.
I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with doing away with the requirement that it be listed in the capital improvements project.
Well, even if it's not listed, the county has to give credit. So that's why it got stricken. Yeah, that's one of, something, it really messes up the capital improvement plans.
Yeah, it does. Okay, next one is on page 489, number 10. Impact fee credits are assignable and transferable from one property to another in the same impact fee district or an adjacent district that receives benefits, blah, blah, blah. Really?
Yes.
Is that a state requirement?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's just ridiculous.
Should run for governor
Yes.
or something, state senator.
You're just trying to get me out of here.
You and I are stuck together, at least for the next 2 years, if not longer,
That's right.
maybe 4.
Hey.
Make the motion to accept.
I'll move staff's recommendation for approval.
I will second it.
Okay, we have any public comment in this public hearing? No public comment. So we have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner
We get it, just go ahead.
Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Look at me like that for? When you all write the check for a new house, you come back and tell me how fair the impact fees are.
Well,
I have an observation, Commissioner Smith, and something that I learned, is that if you bulldoze your house that's on your lot, you don't have to pay impact fees.
yeah,
You've already paid your impact.
yep.
As long as your capacity is the same, unless you increase.
Doesn't matter.
Capacity.
Doesn't matter, you can have a 100 square foot house, and if you build a 5,000 square foot house on your lot, you don't pay impact fees. Helpful hint for everybody who's considering moving or bulldozing.
Buy a shed on a large piece of
Right.
property.
Okay. So,
Got some friends here from out of town. This is all for you.
so anyway, motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Smith dissenting.
Who would have thunk it?
Okay, we have a 2 o'clock preset, but can we squeeze in
Absolutely.
number 6?
Thank you, consultant, as always, a wonderful job.
Thanks.
Megan, thank you.
Legislative public hearing
And
to,
Samantha Lovelady as well. So fantastic. Please continue.
you might get the
Why'd you get no mention?
Sitting there.
legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of evaluation and appraisal report based comprehensive plan amendment, preamble and text amendment. Mr. Doolin.
Thank you, members of the board. This is mostly a housekeeping changes that have been prepared. I'll go quickly to the summary in the staff report. The local planning agency recommended approval 3-1 on August the 1st. There are several minor changes made to the chapter. The residential capacity analysis change that was, I noted in section 1.7C, we discussed at the LPA, and it's due to the fact that the Indiantown Urban Service District changed when the Indiantown community de-annexed the Little Ranch Estates property. So we just made a small change there to note that that property, that would be added to or included in our residential capacity analysis calculation. I'd like to introduce to you our new senior planner, Jenna Nobby. We're very happy to have Jenna come on board. She's been a big help already in the time she's been here, and I'm going to go ahead and let her finish the discussion on Chapter 1.
Thank you, Clyde. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Welcome.
Thank you. As Clyde said, my name is Jenna Nobby, Senior Planner with the Growth Management Department, and as with many of these other proposed ear-based amendments, much of this is housekeeping. So some minor proposed amendments for Chapter 1 include Section 1.7B, Housing Unit Demand Projection, is being revised to remove reference to the Indiantown Urban Service District and clarify that parcels within incorporated municipalities are not included in the housing unit demand projection for unincorporated Martin County. This similar proposed amendment is for Section 1.7C, residential capacity calculations, to remove reference to the Indiantown Urban Service District and clarify that parcels within incorporated municipalities are not included in residential capacity calculations for unincorporated Martin County. Section 1.7C is also being revised to change the existing 15-year planning period language to now specify a 20-year planning period language, and this is consistent with Section 163.3177 of Florida statute. And the remaining changes in Chapter 1 are simply renumbering sections for corrections and clarification. So staff recommends that we continue this public hearing to October 22nd, and we are available for any questions that you may have.
Now you can breathe.
Good job.
Excellent job.
Sorry, I thought that this was going after the 2 o'clock preset, so I sprinted over here.
You're among friends here. You don't need to be nervous.
Doesn't
We're all
get any
good.
better.
Yeah.
Apologies.
And if you make a mistake, Commissioner Hurd
Slides
will
right there
catch
next
it.
to you, don't worry.
Commissioner Hurd.
So the changes for the planning horizons are changed because of state statutes to 20?
Yes.
Correct.
Aren't we planners in this rapidly developing state? And my other question is, parcels within incorporated municipalities are not included in the residential capacity calcs or the projections for housing demand. Did we used to count the municipalities?
No, but the situation that we talked about with Little Ranch Estates and Indiantown required that we make it abundantly clear, we're not calculating the urban, the areas that are in municipalities.
But did we ever?
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
It's more clarifying existing plan policies.
Motion to continue this item sometime after 9 a.m. on October 22nd.
Second.
Any public comment on this public hearing? Seeing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. How about
That was my welcoming
public
motion.
hearing number 7?
you.
Can you squeeze that in the next 4 minutes?
If you want.
Let's do it.
All right.
She's like, thank God I'm out of here. Get her some oxygen.
Members of the board, this is the,
Oh, I was supposed to read it, but
I'm sorry, go.
legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of evaluation and appraisal report-based comprehensive plan amendment 24-7 recreation element, a text amendment.
This element has the fewest changes of any element that we are working on. We consulted with the Parks and Rec staff, and they actually suggested the changes that you see in this proposed element. There's some minor changes about park facility planning to reference the master plan for the Parks Department. And I think there's an extension in their planning period for planning parks to move it out to like a 10-year period, and actually probably by statute now even farther out. So staff recommends this item be continued to October 22. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Wow, that was great.
Yeah, you'd fit that right in. That was,
Not necessarily.
Gotta grab the edge of the bar, Clyde.
oh, Commissioner, I didn't see your line, I'm sorry.
I'm on page 459 at the bottom of the page under future needs. And it says the county will encourage planned unit developments to provide active parkland based on current levels of service. I will never encourage anyone to do PUDs. I hate them.
It used to say DRIs also, and we struck that.
Yeah. I think that PUDs are extremely unfair.
Any other questions for staff? Do we have any public comment? Seeing none.
We'll move that we continue this item till 9 a.m. or after on October 22nd.
Second.
Jeez.
I want to give Commissioner Smith a chance.
I gotta get used to this.
Okay.
You know.
We have a motion by Commissioner Heatherington, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4 to
PUDs?
1. Because it has PUDs, Commissioner Hurd dissented.
Thank you.
With that, it's 2 o'clock.
On the dot.
And Miss Tammy
That's how we
Mays-
run the county, 2 o'clock
Yeah.
preset,
We're
2 o'clock.
on it. Huh? Department number 5, consideration of a resolution encouraging power system manufacturing to submit an application for an ad valorem tax exemption in accordance with state and county law. Mr. George Stokas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. George Stokas, Assistant County Administrator. Behind me is a bevy of BDB representation as well as PSM, or Power Systems Manufacturing. Before you is a non-binding resolution that's a first step of 3 to allow for Power Systems Manufacturing to apply, not actually get it yet, but to apply for an economic development ad valorem exemption in accordance with Chapter 71, Article 13, General Ordinances of your code, Section 196, decimal 1995 of the Florida State Statutes. Power Systems Manufacturing intends to occupy a 185,000 square foot manufacturing facility located off of Canner Highway, also affectionately known as the South Florida Gateway Industrial Park. They are proposing 101 jobs at 36% above the average earnings in Martin County for an average salary of,
136% above.
well, 36% above.
36% above 100%?
Yes, 36% above 100%. 101 new high-wage jobs. I do have one Scribner's error that I do need to have the board accept while we're considering this. Again, this resolution does not obligate the Board of County Commissioners to approve or in any way guarantee an ad valorem tax exemption will be granted. Power Systems is here to answer any questions you may have. However, they will be applying for this tax exemption for the tangible personal property tax, which is the tax that is taxed on equipment that they purchase between January 1st and March 1st, and they are planning to, the average wage, by the way, is $74,429, when the county's average wage is $54,801, as well as they are planning to buy approximately $11.3 million worth of tangible personal property equipment by December 31st in 2029. I want to scroll to the resolution to show everyone in TV land, including yourselves, where I made a mistake, and I will have to pay my wife because I made a mistake. In number 4, Power Systems Manufacturing plans to locate a new, I wrote aerospace power generation because I'm a pilot. It should actually read aerospace and power generation, not one. They're not creating jet engines. They're creating aerospace and power generation. And with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions the board may have at this time.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Campy?
Not necessarily for staff. Are we going to hear from the applicant or
If they would like to come on up, if you want.
introduce themselves?
Otherwise-
You could sit, you could do whatever makes you most comfortable.
I'm John Perret, I'm Vice President and General Counsel of Power Systems Manufacturing. PSM actually began in Stewart about 25 years ago. We had since moved to the north end of Palm Beach County in Jupiter and have been there ever since. We're outgrowing the facility there. We will still be there. We're going to grow here for our existing power generation, gas turbine business, manufacturing and engineering design, and additionally aviation and aerospace engines, as Mr. Stoke has pointed out.
Can you said that you were in Stewart 25 years ago. How old is the company?
The company began in 1999, and so we are celebrating our 25th year this year.
Okay. Fantastic.
Homegrown Martin County, coming back to roost.
Well, I would tell you that your timing is perfect because, at least in my world, I plan on focusing on additional industries and industrial companies, manufacturers, people that can employ our residents, knock down some of the travel time and the road traffic that's required when people live out of the county and work in the county or live in the county and have to go somewhere else. So it'd be my pleasure, first, to welcome you, and secondly, to accept staff's recommendation.
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And with that, we do have a public comment that has been sitting here very patiently. Tammy, and I've already forgot her last name, Mazzotta?
Nope.
No?
Yeah, that's about it.
Would you please correct your name for the,
Zota.
Tammy Mazzotta. Yeah, I just have, I think everything sounds great. It sounds like a great thing to have a facility up here. My question about the employment, how many of these 101 people are actually going to be employed from Martin County? And how many are going to be transferred up from the Jupiter area? I think it's kind of an important question to know how many people are going to be commuting up here to a new facility for you compared to how many people you are employing from Martin County itself.
this is not really, public comment is kind of a one-way deal. It's not really, we can,
Okay,
if staff has the ability or the applicant has the
okay,
ability.
that's fine, because that was more of a question, I get you.
Okay.
So basically, then, my comment is that it's great that they are bringing this up here, but if they're not going to employ the actual Martin County residents, maybe it should be looked at a little better and figure out something a little bit better for Martin County and taxpayers. So that's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if you would like, I can answer the question. These are 101 new jobs,
Okay.
not being transferred. These are new jobs to Martin County. Unfortunately, we cannot make them hire Martin County residents.
Get that?
Almost a lot of our workforce comes from St. Lucie County. And then I don't know what else to, how else to answer
But they're
that.
new jobs.
They're new jobs.
But that being said, most employers, not specifically saying these employers, but most employers having people that live closer to where they work.
Correct.
And we have a talented job pool, so I would imagine that they would attempt to hire locally.
And while we're talking about that is done through, we are checked when you go through, so the next two steps will be they will submit their state form to the property appraiser, who will then analyze their form based on the tangible personal property that they've purchased, and then they'll come back before this body, I believe, after March. And I want to thank legal, they've helped me greatly through this process, as well as the BDB. They'll come back before this body for approval, and then as a part of you adopting that ordinance, there are checks in place where we will check payroll and make sure that they're doing the jobs. That it's not just we're trusting their word. I know I think they're very trustworthy, by the way, but there will be checks and balances. It's not just giving away this exemption. So,
Commissioner Smith,
I think a way that everybody that's listening to this should think about this type of industry. Aerospace, at least in my manufacturing background, tends to be generational. A lot of parents that are in the industry that have raised kids tend to gravitate to the same kind of industry, hopefully anyway. The Reach Center was something that we thought about a very long time ago to start considering the aging out of our aerospace employees, knowing that probably 10 years ago we were seeing a major aging out period. And so hopefully as part of this, this company and others can take advantage of certainly the Reach Center and its capacity, but also the long-standing aerospace industry that's been in Martin County, which I suspect is part of the reason why they would come back here in the first place, because there is a long-standing history of it all, and it's generational. And I think that sets us up very, very well for having the continuation of that kind of employment. And so I wish you the best of luck, that it goes the way we'd hope it would go, and it'll be welcome to our community.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy. I think we have a second by Commissioner, you?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? No. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, back to the schedule here. Department Quasi Judicial Number 1, request plat approval for the 95 Riverside Plan Unit Development, which Commissioner Hurd hates, Phase 4 project.
You don't have to say that. Say it out loud.
I said it out loud. Anyway, N027-014. This is an example of how we have fun up here and we don't take ourselves too seriously, so. And it is going to be presented by John Sennett.
There he is.
Got it, finally. Yes. That's you.
This
Oh.
is quasi judicial proceeding.
You would
So
think.
excited about the name.
I was so excited I got your name right. Okay, do we, for one, let's say, do we have any ex parte?
If I do, they're followed.
If any of them have been filed.
If any of them been filed,
No parte.
no parte?
If I have any, they've been filed.
Okay. Would you please stand and be sworn in?
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do we have any interveners?
No interveners and no notice needed.
And all the paperwork has been,
Yes, I'm turning in my
Appropriately.
work history and the agenda item to be filed as Exhibit 1.
I think I got it all. Thank you.
All right. I'm John Sennett, Senior Planner with Growth Management. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning or good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm presenting the 95 Riverside PUD Phase 4 plat application. This is a request by HJA Design Studio on behalf of Pulte Home Company. The 95 Riverside PUD Phase 4 plat is to be consistent with the Phase 4 final site plan, which contains 98 single-family townhomes on an approximately 12.4-acre site. The Phase 4 final site plan was originally approved in November of 2023. Minor technical changes were required to the Phase 4 final site plan to achieve consistency with the plat. The applicant has requested release and termination of existing access easements. These easements are no longer needed as alternative access is being provided within the plat. Phase 4 of the 95 Riverside PUD is located at 7439 Southwest Lost River Road on the northwest corner of Southwest Canner Highway and Southwest Lost River Road in Stewart, just east of the 95 interchange. This is an example sheet from the proposed Phase 4 revised final site plan showing the layout of the fee simple townhomes, the stormwater tracks, and the internal roadways. This is an example sheet from the plat prepared by Caulfield and Wheeler, laying out the fee simple lot lines. Review of plats is not required by the local planning agency. Final action on this application is required by the Board of County Commissioners in a public meeting pursuant to Table 10.5 F9 Martin County LDR. Development review staff have found the application to comply with all applicable regulations in the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan as detailed in the attached staff report. Therefore, staff recommend approval of the 95 Riverside PUD Phase 4 plat. Staff recommended action is to move the board receive and file the agenda item and all attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1. Move that the board approve the 95 Riverside PUD Phase 4 plat and Phase 4 revised final site plan, including the contract for construction of required improvements and infrastructure. And move that the board approve the release and termination of access easement and release and termination of pedestrian access easement, and authorize the chairman to sign any and all documents necessary to complete the transaction. That concludes my presentation. I'm here for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, a public speaker this morning said that this was an inappropriate addition to our development in Martin County. And this is a very old planned unit development. It was first approved in 1987. And as I recall, what was approved for where now the townhomes are being constructed was 2 office buildings, 200,000 square feet of office buildings. Am I remembering this right?
Yeah.
It was a use that was just so antiquated and so wrong and so unsellable and so inappropriate and incompatible. So if people think that this is inappropriate, it's not nearly as inappropriate as the approved use on this property was. These will actually be, those townhomes will sell like hotcakes.
I agree. I remember when this agenda item first came, it was really like night and day between what was originally allowable there. Commissioner Hurd's right. It was hundreds of thousands, hundreds of thousands of square feet of office and commercial space that was going to generate thousands of traffic trips, and this was much less impactful than what would have been there. When we hear from the applicant, I'd like to ask a question.
Okay. The applicant have a presentation or would like to speak to us? That'd be great.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Michael Houston with the HGA Design Studio. Those were great comments and right on the money. I've been driving by that since 1987, 88. We do not have a presentation, but we just wanted to express our appreciation for the work staff's done. Project's moving along. You can tell when you drive by there. It will be a nice addition to that PUD.
Perfect. Commissioner Campy.
Mr. Houston, we saw the plan there. Not putting a gun to your head, any idea what the range of pricing is for these?
This market is so hard to say. It changes all the time, but I think Commissioner Hurd's comments about hotcakes is going to be accurate. It's such a convenient location for so many reasons.
Just wondering, not that, we're trying to market them, I think they'll sell on their own. Just, in my mind, when we're thinking about what we approve and don't approve, or doesn't even get to the point where it comes before us, is I'm trying to contemplate the different price ranges. We're still having conversations about quote-unquote affordable or essential housing, which are lower price points. These will probably be a stage up from that, but they're not, I would assume they're not $600,000-$700,000 townhomes.
No.
So they fill, and there's 100 of them, or 98. How many are there? 98? So approximately 100 that will not necessarily solve a problem, but it'll solve a problem for 98 families. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's got a nice amenity package. The river will finally be seen from here.
I saw the lake was
A little
built.
park.
Dug already.
A lot of the things that we
Left the existing trees in place that as you came around the corner there, those trees were left and lit at night. I remember the time it was presented. It was a good package.
Thank you.
Denied. No, it was just.
Okay, do we have any public comment? Seeing none, back to the board.
Move approval.
Second.
Well, We have a motion by
Motion made by Commissioner Hurd.
Hurd. Wow.
You could put that on a sign in front of the place.
Oh, my God. Motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, John Senate.
Yep.
Michael Houston.
Okay, Department number 1, Office of Management and Budget, items which require board approval. Ms. Murley.
Look, I'm wearing 2 pins also.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Stephanie Murley here to go over this week's OMB item, which only has 10 items this week.
Oh.
Yeah, scaling back. Our first item is permission to apply for the Florida Department of Transportation Public Transportation Grant Agreement for the FY25 Section 5311 Non-Urbanized Area Formula Funds for Operating Assistance. The Public Works Department is requesting permission to apply for $176,811 to provide operating assistance to continue the Indiantown non-urbanized bus route service, and there's no grant match required. The second item is permission to accept the Indian River Lagoon License Plate Program Grant for the Indian River Lagoon Estuary Restoration Project. Our Environmental Resources Division is requesting acceptance of a grant contract in the amount of $60,000 to spawn, grow, and release 2 species of clams. The grant requires a local match of $20,000, but we will be contributing an additional $40,000 for the whole project cost, and these funds are budgeted within the Indian River Lagoon Estuary Restoration CIP sheet. Item number 3 is a permission to accept the Florida Department of Environmental Protection FDEP grant for the St. Lucie Inlet Management Plan Implementation Project. Our coastal division is requesting acceptance of $3.1 million for construction costs related to the North Bypassing Project for the St. Lucie Inlet Management Plan. There is a match of 3.1 that is required, and that is programmed within our St. Lucie Inlet Management Plan CIP sheet. Item number 4 is a permission to accept the FDEP grant for the Martin County Shore Protection Project. Coastal is requesting acceptance of a grant in the amount of $199,364 for the design and permitting of the shore protection project at the Hutchinson Island 4-Mile Beach project. The grant match of $234,319 is required, and it's programmed within our Hutchinson Island 4-Mile Beach project CIP sheet.
Do you know if this is the same project we did about 8 years ago?
It is.
Okay. Thanks.
Great. Item number 5 is a permission to accept the FDEP grant for another Martin County Shore Protection Project. Coastal is requesting the acceptance of $2.6 million for the North Bypassing Project construction costs for the St. Lucie Inlet Management Plan.
What's the difference between 3 and 5?
2. Oh, sorry. That was a math test.
Oh.
So the one project is the, so we are the local sponsor for 2 federal projects. The one is the North, or the Hudson Island Shore Protection Project, which goes from the county line to south of Stewart Beach. And the other is the St. Lucie Inlet and our inlet management plan, where we bypass sand to either north or south. And this is related to the inlet management plan.
So 3 and 5 are the same project?
3 was, yes, I think, yeah.
Why is it 2 separate grants? So it's $5.7 million, but it's broken down into 2.6 and 3.1. It's the same project, right?
So one of them is monitoring that goes on for several years. So that would be a multi-year grant. And
Okay.
the other one was actually for, I think, construction bypassing.
Thanks.
So that grant has approximately a $2.6 million match, which is also programmed within our inlet management CIP. Item number 6 is permission to accept the Centers for Disease Control Drug-Free Communities Grant. Our Human Services Division is requesting the grant acceptance of $125,000 for the Year 5 of funding to support the goals of the Martin County Community Action Coalition Work Group, which focuses on youth substance use prevention. There is an in-kind grant match of $125,000 for the 5-year period, which is through a combination of staff time and coalition member time for this grant. Item number 7 is a permission to accept the Federal Transit Administration Section 5307 Urbanized Formula Grant. This is a grant award in the amount of $1.1 million, and this is to provide operating and capital assistance funds to the Martin County Public Transit Service. The grant includes $400,000 for the purchase of a replacement bus, and there is a grant match of $502,000 required, which is a combination of the State Public Transportation Block Grant of $335,000, as well as our county match of $166,000 from our transit operating budget. Item number 8 is a permission to accept the E911 state grant for call taker console refresh. This is a capital project that's happening at the EOC. This is to accept a grant award of $452,890 for the Martin County Sheriff's Office E911 console, and it enables the county to upgrade the consoles for call takers in the EOC. There's no grant match required. Item number 9 is a permission to accept the E911 state grant for smart transcription. The Martin County Sheriff's Office E911 is requesting acceptance of a grant award of $47,869 for smart transcription services, which is a cloud-based service that takes the voice audio from 911 calls and transcribes them into searchable text transcript, and there's no match required on that either. Item number 10 is a permission to accept the E911 state grant for the Geographic Information System, or GIS, data services. The E911 Division of Martin County Sheriff's Office is requesting acceptance of a grant award of $350,523 that'll bring our county's GIS data and master street address guide up to 98% accuracy level to improve the delivery of 911 services to our residents and visitors, and there's no grant match required. And that is my last item on OMB today.
Okay. Any questions for Stephanie?
Move staff's recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington, because I heard her first. And all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Contracts that meet the threshold of the board approval of $1 million or greater. Miss Christy Brotherton.
Good afternoon. Christy Brotherton, Chief Procurement Officer. We have 2 items for your consideration this afternoon. The first contract is for the Palm City 2 Landfill and Transfer Station Administration Building construction. Let's see, staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which is One Call Florida, in the amount of $2,195,207.50. And that move that board approve a CIP modification. 3, move that the board approve a budget transfer of $1,850,000 from project number 4904, which is relocation of recycling, to project number 4015, admin building construction. And last, move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. And the next item is a contract for US 1 and Southeast Constitution Boulevard intersection improvements. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which is Carr Construction, in the amount of $1,076,974.44, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. And that concludes this item.
Commissioner Heatherington.
I was just going to say, I'd like to see when we have 7 bidders bidding on projects. That's phenomenal. So
Commissioner Smith.
competition is good.
To the second item, Constitutional Boulevard, a former employee who's now helping us on the side. When we struggled to figure out how we got Constitutional Boulevard a traffic light on US 1, and we were doing the project with MacArthur, And we were trying to figure out exactly how we could move some right-of-way around and their access road around, and Lisa Wixer came up with the idea of taking that piece of that intersection and moving it further south so that we could align it with Constitutional Boulevard, which gave us the ability to have a warrant approval or warrant study approval. So Lisa, thank you for your knowledge and ability to make all that happen for the residents down there. Now, if we could just do South River.
Where's Constitution?
Heritage
Right.
Ridge. We all said at the same time. We've been talking about that for years. When they built the
It's down where that
Dollar store.
Dollar General. That's when we started to talk about that. Dollar General just celebrated its 10th anniversary down there.
I would also say, in fairness to MacArthur, played a major role in getting that alignment taken care of as well with their construction entrance and now converting it into an access road. So to them as well, thank you for all that for our residents.
Should make the motion.
Did we?
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Department number 4, approval of collective bargaining agreement between Martin County and Teamsters Local 769 for upcoming 3-year term, and it's the Heather and Matt show.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Graham, Assistant County Administrator. Joining me today is Heather Dan, our Risk Management HR Director. So we began negotiations this year with the Teamsters Collective Bargaining. That's obviously why we're here and seeking your approval. But before we began negotiations, we had 3 key concepts that we wanted to accomplish with this contract. 1 was to be financially responsible. 2 was the recruitment and retention of top talent. And 3, our commitment to no millage increase. So we began negotiations in November of 2023 with the Teamsters, and an overwhelming majority of the Teamsters voted for this, 98% of them. We believe that this contract strikes the perfect balance between addressing the needs of the employees as well as addressing the needs of the county's recruitment and retention efforts. So 1, with financial responsibility, every term of this contract was thoroughly analyzed by our budget division, and we worked with them within the constraints of our budget. And we also believe that this budget is sustainable. The second item is for recruitment and retention of top talent. You heard from our department directors during the budget workshop that recruitment and retention was a concern of theirs, and we're hoping that this contract will address that. During 2020 to 2022, even upwards to 2023, we had record inflation, high turnover, and we believe this is the last step in addressing our recruitment and retention issues. The HR department has done a great job. You heard from Heather and Tim on some of the programs that they implemented, but again, we believe this is the last step to address it. And then finally, with our commitment to no millage increase. When we met with the Teamsters, they understood that any proposal that they had, that there would not be an increase to our millage. They originally came in with a 12% increase. I think I heard today somebody commented that we were getting 12% increases. That's not what we're here for today. We're here for a 6% increase or $2.50 per hour, whichever is greater for year 1. And for years 2 and 3, we're asking for a 6% increase or $1.50 per hour, whichever is greater. Again, so this contract will address our recruitment and retention issues. We believe it's sustainable. It meets our financial responsibility, and the staff is recommending the following. Move that the board approve the collective bargaining agreement between Martin County and Teamsters Local 769, effective October 1, 2024 through September 30th, 2027. We're also asking that the board approve the same salary adjustments for the Teamsters, for our HRM employees, our county administrator and county attorney, for fiscal years 2025, 2026, and 2027. And then finally, we're asking that the sick leave provision that we included in the collective bargaining agreement for the Teamsters also be included in our HR manual and be available for our county attorney and county administrator. So that concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? I believe there's no questions for staff. Okay. Do we have any?
Well, I would, just so that the folks at home don't wonder why there's no questions for staff, we have had the opportunity to meet individually, and since this was a labor negotiation, we were able to meet privately as a group, one of the very few times that we're able to, and ask questions and speak through some of these ideas. And then I think all of us had our own follow-up, so it's not like we're sitting here just blindly agreeing to whatever the staff is putting in front of us. This has been a long process. I appreciate the efforts of our union and their representatives that represented their coworkers, because that's not easy. And to have a 98% acceptance rate from the rank and file, I think is appropriate. And also, our Teamsters represent the folks, our employees, that a majority of the residents see. They're the ones that are out there in the community doing the work on weekends, on holidays, at night, in the rain, emergencies, things that happen when you hear, hey, there was a water leak, or hey, there was a car ran through some traffic signaling equipment. It's these members, these men and women, that are the ones that come out, so they're like lifting up the county at this level. So I personally feel they are more than deserving of the salaries increases that were given, that we are discussing today. And I appreciate our internal team for helping put it together. I think you have someone who wants to talk from the union.
Yes.
Afternoon.
All right, good afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Chuck Tomey. I represent the Teamsters here in Morton County, proudly represent them. I got to compliment you all for putting a great team together on negotiations as we started. As Matt stated, November, almost a year. We knew we needed to get started earlier. The previous contract of inflation was more than what they're making, so a lot of the members were in a worse financial position through the pandemic, and this contract we knew was going to be a little more expensive than they had been in the past. And with Matt and their team and Heather, with Matt being previously lead negotiator in our previous negotiations, and Heather stepped up to this time, and the rest of your staff, and with Don's help and your attorney, the negotiations went smoothly. And as Matt said, we met at middle ground. We met at an area where it's good for the county. It's good for your employees. It's a good deal for everyone here at hand, and we're just looking for your support. As you said, these are the guys out there in the heat, making sure the lights are on, that it's nice and cool in here, the street lights are working, and you don't have a backed up sewer at night or a broken main. So they're your hardworking Teamsters. We appreciate your support.
Hold on 1 minute.
When he's finished, Harold.
Oh, okay, we're good.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, just a side comment. There have been negotiations where there were outside individuals involved in pulling our contracts together, and they didn't go so well. And we have a remarkable team on both sides that have done great work. So thank you for all that you do to make these things happen. And with that, I would move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by, is there any more public comment? No?
No.
Oh, there is.
I don't know if she's commenting on this.
Are you commenting on this particular item or just? Okay, we'll get to you in just a sec. Let's finish this. Sorry.
Before she walks all over.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
And with that, now we go to our, do we do our how do we do this?
Oh, we have.
He's coming back with the item from this.
Okay.
We have one item, Commissioner Hurd brought up a project that is requesting, I guess it's in the public comment phase of a draft DEP consideration for a permit. And Mr. Gorton is going to bring us up to date on where it is and what this is about. Thank you.
Jim Gorton, Public Works Director. This morning during commission comment, it was brought up about a permit to dredge an area associated with the Riverwalk community, which I wasn't familiar with because it's not in Martin County. So Riverwalk is this community right here. Martin County, the line is right here, and this is our impoundment, mosquito impoundment in Jensen Beach. So there are neighbors directly north of us. And this community has proposed to dredge the open water area in this vicinity here. The reason that some of our residents are concerned about that is because that same area that they're proposing to dredge has a conservation easement across it. So that conservation easement limits their ability to do certain things in there. One of them is dredging. The conservation easement does allow for them to apply for a permit to dredge, which is what they have done. But it also limits their ability to use motorized vehicle, gas-powered boats in that conservation easement area. So they've requested two things. One is to dredge the area shown on the previous image, and the second thing is to eliminate that requirement in their conservation easement to allow for gasoline-operated engines to run in this kind of natural area that exists right there. So there are some docks that exist around this community, and
Jim,
they
I think
do
just
have boats.
Real quick, that the area that you pointed is natural, actually, they dredged that. Wasn't that the issue?
Yeah.
Years ago, it was dredged to create the community without a permit, is that, as I understand?
Correct. So I'm just getting up to speed on it, so I don't have all of the history on it. But it does appear that the conservation easement was created because of some environmental issues that occurred during development associated with dredging and removal of mangroves in that area. So that's why DEP required that conservation easement to even exist.
Not in our county.
Not in our county. It's directly adjacent to our county. We actually do drain into that, so our impoundment has some pipes that drain into this area, and that's one of the areas that we discharge from our impoundment, in addition to the major discharges, which go directly into the river. So there's really would be two questions that we'd be looking for board approval to create a letter, which would be, do we want to address the changes to the conservation easement as far as allowing motorized vessels that operate on gas or diesel? And then the second thing is the dredging. So it's about 1.25 feet deep at the shallowest spot right now in that channel. They're proposing to go down to 2.5 feet. There are some seagrasses in there. I spoke with the DEP today about it, and they have modified their design to not get into the area with the seagrasses, and they also are not going to impact mangroves with the dredge project. DEP is close to issuing a permit, so if we're going to send a letter, it needs to happen this week, for sure.
Commissioner Hurt.
I am still all in favor of protecting conservation easements. There's a good reason why there's a conservation easement on this property, and it's because they did unpermitted dredging. So to reward them by allowing them to amend their conservation easement so that they can do more dredging is, I think, in contempt of the easement that's been put on there. So I would still favor writing a letter to DEP asking them not to permit the dredging.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I would add that, probably 15, 17 years ago, we went after the 92 acres, I think, that make up the northern end of this parcel to acquire. I think that was a really great thing for us to do. It's a really unique, interesting area in both our side and their side, St. Lucie County side. I know that we have had some issues a couple of years ago with how we drain the mosquito impoundment ditches and so on in there. And so the only thing I guess I would recommend when I heard it discussed this morning is that everybody fully understands the ramifications, pro or con, relative to what they want to do, relative to how it may help our situation on our side of the equation, given that the mosquito impoundment ditches and what's all involved in that 92 acres, gets the best chance. And Jim, maybe you can, because I'm a little bit not 100% sure on what did happen when we wiped out a whole bunch of that impoundment area a couple of years back, when we overflooded it or something ended up happening there that probably wasn't the best thing in the world. And the mangroves are starting to recruit back at the southern end. If you go out Jensen Beach Causeway, you can kind of look to the north and see at the southern end of this, all of this area, what happened in there. But I would just express caution relative to us objecting. If DEP and St. Lucie County come to an agreement on how best to manage that whole area, it may be somewhat in our interest relative to our mosquito impoundment program. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I brought up that we do have a pipe that discharges in there, and if this channel right here ever completely filled in, then we would have a problem on the north end of our impoundment, because that's how we drain that. And that is what happened during the hurricane, is we had too much water, fresh water in the impoundment, and that's what killed the red mangroves on the south end of the impoundment. We have since made some changes to our impoundment. We've created new outfalls, and we've also done some dredging ourselves to make that drain a little bit better. So we wouldn't want this channel to completely fill in over time. So at some point, it's going to need to be maintained.
Commissioner Campbell.
I tend to agree with Commissioner Hurd in this case. However, and I would have to rely on your opinion, Mr. Gordon, are we being unneighborly, and will there be times when we're needing favors across the county line from St. Lucie or Port St. Lucie, and they're going to remember that we were not interested in helping them now?
Mr. Donaldson's got an answer for that.
So this is not an issue between county jurisdictions. It's the private community or and the DEP. So I don't think there's anything issue with that. I don't think there's any problem too with the counties making a stance saying that you don't like the amendments to conservation easements. They need to be carefully considered or shouldn't be changed at all. So I think that's just my input.
That's what we wanted. Okay. Did you make a motion?
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this aerial, and it looks to me like the dredge was completed in order to create the spoil upon which these buildings are sitting? Is that what I'm looking at?
Or to make water, makes them all waterfront.
That's
I imagine
that's
it
the
was-
theory we're operating
Yeah,
on. I don't have that confirmed yet.
That's what it looks like
Yeah.
here. It's pretty homogeneous in the entire area. So it looks to me like it's 100% mangroves, and they dredged the mangroves in order to create spoil, in order to put these buildings on.
Allegedly.
Well, why don't we just leave it that we know that the conservation easement was a result of a violation?
Okay.
How old are these homes?
It looks like it occurred in the 90s, and then the conservation easement was edited in 2003 was the most recent update to that. So yeah, in the early 90s is when it appears that was constructed.
Commissioner Smith.
I guess the only thing I would add relative to our relationship with our northern county, it was brought up this morning out in the central northern part of our county, the discussion of how we have connections between our counties. And whether this is a private application or not, it's still in someone else's county. And I think if Martin County were proposing something which has happened in the past, and other counties have stepped in and offered their opinion, we didn't think too much about that. But I am more conscious about the 92 acres and how the impacts relative to our side of the county will be affected one way or the other, pro or con, that we somehow make sure that we're able to manage our side of the county line appropriately.
I tend to agree. We stay in our own lane. This is not really, if they do this, does it adversely affect our property or our interests?
It won't directly impact the impoundment.
So,
The only thing would be if that completely shoveled in, it would
so it would actually potentially benefit us.
It'd take quite a bit of sediment for that to occur, though.
My point is, this is not, this is out of our jurisdiction. We should stay out of their business and call it a day. Anyway, Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to send a letter of opposition to the DEP to amend the conservation easement to allow dredging.
Commissioner, as well as the gasoline-powered vehicle
Right.
operation? Okay.
As much as I would like to support my colleague, I think the evidence that I've heard and the information that I've heard from our staff and my colleagues don't allow me to second her motion at this time. I think that some of the information tips the scale for me to stay in my yard. I apologize.
I agree.
But I know you're making a point as well.
Want to protect conservation easement.
May I make a suggestion?
Well, it's gonna die.
Could Indian River Lagoon Council, perhaps, I don't know that they would pass a resolution, but could we, well, you're saying this has to happen this week.
As far as the dredge permit, so what they've done is they've broken the two permits. They originally was applied as one permit for the dredge and the change for the gasoline-operated vessels. They've broken that in two. The dredge, it appears that it's imminent as far as issuing that permit. And then the gasoline-powered vessels, it will take a little bit more time because that's a bigger ask than the dredging, because in the conservation easement, it does allow for applying for a dredge permit. So the two, that one's going to happen very soon, and then the conservation easement modification to allow for the gasoline-operated vessels is the one that might take a little bit more time for them to review.
Tell them we're watching.
So we are taking no action, is that the idea?
Well, there's a motion that it fails for lack of a
Failed,
second.
right?
Or you'd have to announce.
Oh, we do not have a second, so that motion seems to fail.
Jim, thank you for coming up with all of that.
So no action means no, we're not,
Correct.
we're staying out of
Just
their
let them know we're
their
watching.
business. Yeah,
It's a lot of good information, though.
okay. So we have now reached the end of our original agenda, except for our 5:05 budget meeting. So
Well, yeah.
we have somebody that would like to do 5:05 public comment. So I would assume it's appropriate to do it now.
Absolutely.
Ms. Williams, would you like to come up and speak to us? All right. Take your time, because we have 2.5 hours to kill. Or
Yeah.
2 hours to kill, yeah.
You could stop every 15
Yeah.
minutes if you want. Good.
2 hours. 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Laverne Williams. Thank you for letting me speak. I apologize first for not doing my research to make sure that my comment now is applicable for this day. I apologize for the last meeting for not speaking when I should have spoke, when you did talk about the issue at hand. And thirdly, thank you for all that you all do. I appreciate you all. I am representing today the citizens who make use of the disadvantaged transportation. I'm asking if you can consider us when you do your budgeting, if it's not done already, for the $150,000. I'm praying and hoping that that would be at least the amount up until January, and that we will move forward as a community to work with Marty and Disadvantaged Transit, so in years to come, they can maybe blend together and be a great asset to the community, if possible. And that was it. Thank you. God bless you all.
Commissioner Campy.
Ma'am, let me thank you. You sent, I don't know if you sent to all of us, but you sent me a thank you.
Yes,
And it was so lovely that I kept it.
Oh,
So thank you very much.
thank you. Yes, I did. Yes, I think it's important to the community. Thank you. And I appreciate what you do.
Okay,
Thank you. No.
well,
Public comment? He has a-
we have any more public comment? Sir, do you? Ma'am,
Oh, that's not one.
or- oh.
I actually do, but it was more on the budget side of things.
That'll work, right?
I don't know, should I wait for?
2.5 hours.
We got, come on up. Just fill out one of the forms before you leave and give.
Okay, I'll fill it out. It was kind of spontaneous. I wanted to come just to share a couple of things. But it's really regarding the budget process and the actual budgeting. So I didn't go into a lot of detail on the documentation that was provided, but I do wanted to advocate for three things. And one of them is to put as much funding available for educating the public regarding our environment and why it's so important to have green space in our county. Why it's so important when a private landowner decides, and property owners have property rights, of course, but they don't really have the right to infringe on others, right? So if you say you fill in a wetland, you say, well, it's my property, I can fill in and do anything I want, or cut down trees. They don't necessarily understand that it affects all of us in the community. And I think that's so important, the education, and that will help us and you as decision makers work with the public better. The other thing is I wanted to advocate for fixing some of the existing infrastructure. And I can give you a couple of examples. I live over in Tropical Paradise off Paulson Road there. And I'm recently just moved in there. So my property is on the water, on a canal, and it's overlooking the park. Well, we have water and sewer there, but there's swales all throughout that area that is taking the rainwater, the runoff from the roads, and it's going right directly into the water. And so, of course, that poisons the water because there's a lot of those forever chemicals wind up in that. And then, of course, the fish eat that, get it, and then what happens when we go fishing, and what do we get? We get forever chemicals. So I think that's important to really look at that. And then the other thing is that on the other side, there's a lot of properties that are still on well and septic tank. And those are close to the water as well. And I think something needs to be done with that. It's on section 1 and 2 back there off Paulson. And because that's so close to the water that that's impacting the surrounding quality of the water. And so we all want clean water and air. I think that's something, wherever you are on the development thought process, I think we all can agree that we want clean water and fresh air in our community. We want a healthy environment. And so those are the things I wanted to say. Can I speak one more minute? Okay. And the other thing is more of an internal thing, and I would advocate for as much budgeting as possible for information technology and GIS. It is so very important to help streamline our business processes internally. And it will make a big difference in how the public communicates with.
Your time is up.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate thank you. I really appreciate all your work. I know that, I'll give you 10 more seconds. I really appreciate all your work because I know that you have a very difficult job, and thank you for your contributions.
Thank you for coming in.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, as you're walking away, I would just add, I don't disagree with almost all that you said. I think that was very helpful, other than we don't allow wetlands to be filled in. And so I just don't want you to leave with the idea that you can do that in Martin County, and that I don't want people to listen and going, I didn't know that they could do that. But our codes, our comp plan, we don't allow that.
Thank you. I guess I knew that, but there's people in my area, they don't understand the environmental issues and things. So.
Maybe we can coax this guy in that just walked up for comment? No. Anyway, I did just get the word an hour ago that AT&T is still on strike, so the train station will not be moving this weekend.
Who's on strike?
AT&T.
Who?
IWA, International, ICW, International Communication Workers.
Yeah. So anyway, so there it's pushed off once again. So there's that. So we
Still go
have.
to Harry's in the morning for breakfast.
Well, you could still be there at 5 o'clock. Harry starts cooking bacon about 5:30.
I had breakfast there on Sunday
So,
at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
so I think we now pause our meeting until 5:05, correct?
Well, we could share stories.
We could.